Hey guys, well, I've been getting a lot of questions lately on what camera I ended up picking. And I tried to do this video a while ago and I don't know, it just didn't quite work out. So I won't try to make this terribly long, but in addition, you guys know that last spring I went through quite a few cameras in search of a replacement for the Kodak PlaySport. The PlaySport had been doing a fairly good job. It had survived the wildland, first season, but I was having issues with where the plug-in, anything that gets charged USB, starts having issues with where the USB things plug into them. They just start getting loose and disconnected, and so on and so forth. But my one issue with the Kodak is it made great video, but I could never really take a good picture. It was around the same quality as a cell phone, picture was, and it really didn't quite bring out, that moment of a typical really high quality photograph does. I never really wanted to bring a digital SLR. They're too big and too heavy. You guys know that I tried even the newer digital SLRs and was horrified with kind of where the video is on the new digital SLRs, like the 5100. I have a video about that. I'll put a link up of why I didn't keep that one. The other one that you never really saw, because I ended up taking back during fire season, I had bought a Panasonic, and I'll put a quick video up there. You guys can see kind of the zoom, and it was an amazing camera. And because of the zoom, and in fact I did keep it in the truck for wildland fire, and it came in very handy. We used it like a telephoto, like scoping lens. Because of its incredible zoom, we were able to look up on a ridge and see what was going on. We were able to see wildlife for very far away. And if they kind of improve their packaging of the whole thing, I think they've got a really good system. The problem I found with the Panasonic was it only recorded in 1080p and 1080i, the highest quality, that there is out there, which is great. It's just that, without a full desktop rendering video machine, it makes it very difficult to edit down the videos. And those videos, I was not able to use the same softwares with a lot of the other cameras that I use. And I'm actually finding that issue still with some higher end video editing software that I picked up. A lot of them don't cover the QuickTime MOV that most of my cameras use. I'm not saying it's the best format, but it's a very popular format. And in fact, today we're using a lavalier mic on the GoPro with the Wi-Fi backpack. Let's see if it can see itself in there. There's a slight delay on there. There we go. And so that way I know at least what the GoPro is aiming at. And the lavalier mic allows me to a little bit better audio. The first video I used it on was the baking video we did of the oatmeal cookies the other day. So hopefully the audio will be a little bit better. There is a slight buzzing to this. It's an Audio Technics lavalier mic. It is a very long cord, which is kind of obnoxious, but we'll play around with it. I'm just trying to see if I can get better audio out of the GoPro, and perhaps would link up to the motorcycle vlogging videos this spring. So without further ado, the one that you've been staring at for the last few minutes while I've been blabbing is the Nikon Coolpix AW100. This does have a GPS feature. I do not use it. I find that kind of crap just to be nonsense, and it chews up the battery. If you have GPS, there's a big button on here. Occasionally this does get pressed, and it will be looking for the GPS location, and it'll tell you where your pictures were took, and I really couldn't care less about that. The best feature of this is the fact that it can take really good video. As you can see, I usually set most of mine at 720, 30 frames per second. It seems to be put out an excellent quality of video. It doesn't chew up a whole lot of memory cards, and it is much easier to render and edit in post-production. There is a little bit of noticeable difference between a 1080 and a 720, but I think 720, the high definition, still has leaps and bounds over a non-HD camera. A couple things I really liked about it was, in any time you're screwing around with anything, if you press the shutter, and I'm looking over here at my backpack and I realize I'm not actually on camera here. Anytime you're screwing around with something, if you go to press the shutter, it automatically gets out of whatever you were in and goes immediately to try to take that photograph. That is an excellent feature because things happen. You want to take a picture super quick, and boom, you're right into it, no matter what you were screwing around with, and you can take that photograph. The other thing I like is I don't have to go into a memory or a mode or menu like I did with the Kodak, where I had to go into the menu and choose video. I can be focusing and looking for a photograph and immediately hit this little button over here and go right into a video. And you'll see it kind of gets into landscape format on the viewfinder, just because that's what I have it set to. And it starts recording. You get an audio beep saying that you're done, and that can be turned on and off, and tells you all your typical camera kind of stuff. What the biggest thing that I found with this thing is the ability for this thing to take low light photographs was outperforming some of the digital SLRs that we had in our group. Now, there were some guys that had some really nice cameras, and when we went to share them later, you will see that they came out very sort of grayish. The fire really wasn't, the colors weren't quite there. And so what I was using primarily, and there's an easy mode that kind of chooses for you what, shutter speed. Now, this is not a manual camera, but if you come down in here, it has enough pre-settings of shutter speeds and your f-stops that you can choose a really good one. And I generally switch between the sunset mode and dusk and dawn. And if I remember correctly, the sunset mode kept those oranges and the reds of the fire at night to allow me to take those amazing photographs that I've got. You guys have seen them, but I'll put a link to my Facebook page, which has a lot of the photographs on there. Hopefully, if you're not a Facebook guy, I really don't care, but you'll be able to view them. Maybe someday I'll get a different public viewing. But the video, obviously, there's a whole playlist of wildland stuff with the pictures inserted. So if you guys have been following me, go check that out, and that will show you exactly what it's capable of doing, and that all translates over to the video as well. A lot of those same settings, you can get the same video quality of the shutter speed and a little bit more of the attributes of the special effects in that. There is another menu over here. Let me see if I can get over there. Why isn't this going out? There we go. It does have color selective, which was a neat feature on the Nikon 5100. You guys saw those photographs if you already clicked on that link and went and saw that video. This is a little bit more limiting, where I have several colors to choose from. You can see on this sidebar, hopefully. I know the GoPros doesn't really zoom in, but I have 16 different colors to kind of choose from, and that allows me that if I have something that's yellow, as you can see, that's black and white through the viewfinder, but if I scroll down to yellow, it'll only select that yellow. But you can see in this orange, it picks up the orange. If I go down one to yellow, you start to lose some of the color. And the problem with this is you kind of only get that pre-selected color, where on the digital SLR, I was able to actually look in the viewfinder, pick out that specific color exactly, and then color match that. So in this, you get kind of a pre-selected color band that you have to choose from. Other than that, it's been a great camera. It is completely waterproof. There's timers, all of the usual stuff that you look for in a modern day camera. It is still small enough that I can get it into a pocket without it being obtrusive. It has a decent flash, shockproof to 5 feet, waterproof to 10 millimeters, and I don't know how many times, I usually leave this in a cargo pocket, that I end up smacking my tool, whatever it was that day, and I hear it hit that thing, and there's no marks, other than a little bit dings in here and there, but there's no issues with the camera and the functionality of it, because it's been abused through that. So it survived a very long wildland fire season because of that. The other thing, I've never had a camera that can, we'll get out of this actually video. One, this is very easy to actuate even with gloves on, which is another kind of key feature, because I'm wearing gloves usually the entire time. But I'm also in my special mode here. Let me just put it easy. The macro mode that you can actually select specifically if you're doing very up close work has an extremely fine close up quality of its focusability. I don't think that's actually a word, but I've never had a camera that can actually focus on the dust of its own screen. If I didn't keep this clean and there was a little extra dirt in my pocket or something and it got onto the lens, it would actually focus so closely, it would focus on that dust. And so I'd have to make sure it got cleaned and then it could focus on whatever I was doing. So the macro mode in this is fantastic, and that's what I've been using for up close shots, pictures, and video recently. It does a terrific job of that. There's something else. Oh, we were going to go over there's a screw on the side that allows you to access the waterproof kind of compartment. And here's your SD card. There's a battery, has HDMI, and then it has kind of a specialty cord, which I already put away, that allows you to access to your computer. The only thing I wish this did is it allows me to charge by that USB, and it does not. So I have since ordered a Wasabi power sort of universal charger for this that has a DC cord, and I've been using that, and I've also got a few extra battery packs. But I would find this thing lasted quite a while without me having to recharge it as well, which is another great feature. But overall, the Beast project primarily has been using this Nikon Coolpix. So any pictures you guys have been seeing since the beginning of last spring has been with this camera. Any video is pretty much that's not obviously a GoPro, but between the GoPro and this, it's kind of my go-to system right now. So a few more things I did forget to mention. One, obviously this video is going to have to be in 1080, simply because GoPro does not allow me to do a narrow view, so you don't get that fisheye look with anything but 1080. So you're in 1080 narrow on the GoPro. The other thing I meant to mention on that line is the Nikon AW has a decent wide angle. I don't remember what the specifics are. You'll have to look online for it, but it does give a decent wide angle without that fisheye look. So you'll definitely, as far as outdoor sports and outdoor activities and landscape shots of mountains and things, you get a much broader perspective on that than you do get with a lot of more narrow focused lenses. But I don't think it has, and you guys have seen, that it doesn't really carry a fisheye perspective like sort of the wide angle that the GoPro does. Now, the one I picked it up from Costco. I have been buying some of my electronics from Costco simply because they have a terrific return policy. They have up to 90 days, where some of the other places you have are like 30 days. And that 90-day policy allows you to, and with laptops, everything. But the case I got was this very rugged Nikon, outdoorsy case, something to fit the persona of that. I've never really used these bungees for anything. Inside there, I really actually leave the camera in there. I'm just using a little dust lens cleaner in there. And then I have a couple different lenses. And this is where the AW100, I think, really shines as far as an outdoor camera. What it allows me to do is snap on a lens adapter onto the camera. And I have not seen, other than stepping up all the way up into the new like no sensor digital SLRs like the Nikon JS1 or whatever they're calling it, there really isn't a huge amount of adapters, unless there's a couple specialty Sonys that were able to do it. But the Nikon here takes advantage of, I believe it's a 40.5 millimeter lens. And what that allows me to do is I've got a UV lens for it currently, and then I have a polarizer lens in here, and the polarizer lens allows you to rotate, if you guys that are into photography at all. But I can take that and rotate and get the polarization out, so it allows me the mountains to have more definition, the sky is bluer, things like that. And the UV is also a very good lens to add on. I didn't carry that with me on fire in my pocket, simply because of the realities of that just sort of snaps on and off. I didn't want to get lost or scratched. So this is just a side feature, but there are a few outdoor waterproof sports cameras that have that ability to adapt to a higher level of photography that this guy does. I will be looking for a neutral gradient and a few other things on here, but I think we're also going to try to see if they have a like a night shot UV, not a UV but an IR filter that maybe we can adapt into there. looking into getting, I've always wanted to get the night shot camera, and if I pick up another standard camcorder, I don't know that Sony is doing the night shots. I have struggled to find it in the newer Sony camcorders that still are doing the night shot feature. And so one option I found is you can buy lenses for the GoPros. And if I do pick up a newer GoPro 3, we may reserve this old Hero 2 for IR night shot stuff so that we can do more filming without the addition of a ton of batteries and flashlights to illuminate that. And sometimes it just doesn't turn out, and so you guys never actually see the footage simply because I'm not happy with the way it turned out. So sometimes it works. Up close stuff definitely. Far away, not so much. So we will see, but this is sort of the beast, you know, my progression of bringing all this information to you guys, and looking forward to another good wildland season, and this will be the camera for that. But it certainly fills a role for everything I've been doing with this project, other than sort of the personal point of view cameras that the GoPro offers. So other than that, let me know if you have any questions. This is Beast signing off.